Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jessica if you are. Today is an exciting day, update number 7 for my Pan That palette of the year, my ShaaanXO The Remix palette from BH Cosmetics. I've been trying to hit pan on every single one of these shades this year. I'm not trying to use it up entirely, that would be crazy, but I have been getting a ton of use on this very old palette that I love so much, giving it one last final hurrah before we eventually do say goodbye to it at the end of the year. So I'm excited to share with you what I've been able to do on this palette during the past month. I've had some goals, I've met some goals, and I have some new goals to set. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this update for my Pan That palette series. If you didn't know already, this is a two-sided palette, so I always start with side A. So let's go ahead and insert the footage for side A right here. I like to show you what it looked like at the beginning of the year. I had a few pans on this starting off with. I had a pan in Clarity, Holy Grail, Glow Baby, and I believe Toasted, if I remember correctly. Here's what side A was looking like last month. I had just one remaining shade that didn't yet have a pan in it. And here's what side A is looking like today. And I'm hoping you'll see some expansion in some of these pans, but we still have that last shade hanging on that has yet to have a pan in it right there in Terracotta. My goal for this side of the palette was to use all of the shades at least 5 times, except for Terracotta, which I was hoping to use 8 times. So I'm gonna go through each of these shades one at a time, show you what they look like last month compared to this month, and I'll also tell you my goals for this side for the next coming month. Skipping right over Clarity, I finished that one pretty early in the year after 79 uses, and we can now focus on Holy Grail. So here's what Holy Grail was looking like last month. This was after 36 uses in this project. I was able to reach for it 7 times this month, making for 43 uses total, and here's Holy Grail today. And I think 7 uses is a pretty good number for this shade, and I'm hoping that there'll be a slight expansion in the size of that pan with those 7 uses. But you know the story with these highlight shades. I'm using such a small amount of product each time I reach for them that the progress is not very obvious, but I'm very happy to know that it is getting some good use on it. And for where we are at now, I'm quite happy with the size of that pan, and I know it's gonna get even bigger in these last few months of the year. Moving on to Glow Baby, which is always a similar story. Here's what Glow Baby was looking like last month. This was after 27 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 5 times, and I did in fact reach for it those 5 times, making for 32 uses total, and here's Glow Baby today. And again, 5 uses is not as good as Holy Grail, so you might not see as big of a jump in this one, but hopefully you see a slight difference in the size of that pan from last month to this month. And I know that it won't get much bigger during the course of this year, but I'll continue to chip away at it all the same, of course. Moving on to that next row, we have Buttercup. Here's what Buttercup was looking like last month. This was after 68 uses in the project. I was able to reach for it 13 times this past month, so far over my 5-use goal, making for 81 uses total, and here's Buttercup today. And this is one of the shades that I'm really hoping we'll see a big jump in. I've been using this very regularly as my first crease shade. It's a nice, just like very subtle, warm tone in the crease, perfect for blending out any other shade or just wearing by itself. And it's one of my favorite mattes on this side of the palette. I'm hoping to really go hard on this shade in the remaining 4 months of this year and make some big change on it. I don't know if I'll be able to use it up entirely, but I think I might be able to get close. And if I really push, who knows, maybe I would. So maybe I just need a little bit of encouragement from all of my friends out there on the YouTubes to really push in on this Buttercup shade and get another empty on this palette, since I don't think there's many other shades in this palette that are hopeful to be emptied in this project. So really happy with Buttercup. I think you're gonna see a nice big jump from that one, and I'm excited to see the footage, which you've already seen. Let's move on to Beach Babe. Here's what Beach Babe was looking like last month. This was after 34 uses in the project. I met my goal of 5 uses on this shade, making for 39 uses total, and here's Beach Babe today. And I think you should see a slight jump in that one as well. I'm very much focusing on the edges of that pan every time I reach into this with my brush, so that's where the usage should be coming from, so that's where the progress should be seen, and I'm very happy with the size of that pan. I love that shade. It's a very easy one and done lid shade to toss on for a quick makeup look, and I'm really going to enjoy reaching for it in the upcoming fall months. Next shade in this row is Terracotta, my last hanging on shade on this side of the palette without a pan in it. So here's what Terracotta was looking like last month. This was after 29 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it at least 8 times. I was able to exceed that goal, and I reached for it 10 times, making for 39 uses total, and here's what Terracotta is looking like today. And I'm hoping with those 10 uses, you'll be able to see a nice jump in the size of that dip from last month to this month. And I know I'm getting close to the pan, but we have no pan yet. But that will be my goal for the next update, is to finally hit pan on that last shade in here. I absolutely love this shade, Terracotta. It's a beautiful warm tone brown matte, perfect for the fall season, which we are quickly approaching. I already love throwing this in my crease to add some depth, and I'm just really gonna lean into it even more in the months of September, October. And I am very confident that I'll have a pan on this hopefully by the next update. If not by then, definitely by October. So that is Terracotta. It's still the last challenge shade. It's just so pigmented, and you really don't need a lot to get the effect on your eye. So it's just taking me a little bit longer, even though I love this shade so much, but I'm fine with that. You all know slow and steady wins the race around here, and I'm not giving up. I will continue to focus on that. I think for this one, I'm not gonna put a usage goal. I'm just gonna have a goal of hitting pan on it. I'm gonna just use it as much as I can until I hit pan, so that I can share that with you by the next update. Moving on to the last row on this side, we have Toasted. Here's what Toasted was looking like last month. This is after 18 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 5 times. Unfortunately, I was only able to reach for it twice, making for 20 uses total. And here's what Toasted is looking like today. So I'm not sure if you'll see much of a difference with just those 2 uses, but I know that I at least got some use on it, even though I didn't meet that 5 use goal. Maybe you'll see just a slight difference. At least some products got used up. And I will try to be better about reaching for this shade in the next few months and just get that pan a little bit bigger for you before this year is over. Let's move on to Avocado. I've been falling in love with this shade. It's such a great lid shade. It's one of those green shifting brown shades, but it really pulls quite neutral on the lid when you're pairing it with neutrals in the crease. And I really enjoyed reaching for it. It just adds like a little bit of like extra interest on the lid without being like over the top and too ostentatious. So here's what Avocado was looking like last month. This was after 21 uses in the project. I did meet my goal of 5 uses on this shade, making for 26 uses total. And here's what Avocado is looking like today. And I'm pretty confident that this one's gonna have a nice little jump in the size of that pan from last month to this month. And I'm very happy with how it's looking today. I think Toasted, Avocado, and Beach Babe are kind of like neck and neck as far as the size of those pans go. And the last shade on this side is Silhouette. Here's what Silhouette was looking like last month after 28 uses in this project. I was able to reach for it 11 times this month, far over my 5 use goal, making for 39 uses total. And here's what Silhouette is looking like today. And I think you'll see a jump from those 11 uses. I'm mostly using Silhouette to top my cream gel eyeliner and kind of smudge it out a little bit, set it down. And you know, that's what I use most black and dark brown eyeshadows for. So I'm not using a ton of product when I reach for it, but it is getting some good use, and I'm happy to see a nice little glimmer of pan on there. Even though it's not big, it's there, and that makes me happy. So that is all for side A, but before we move on to side B, please enjoy this montage of all of the months of footage from January up until today. Thinking about my goals for this side of the palette, I would like to use Holy Grail, Glow Baby, Beach Babe, Avocado, and Toasted, basically all those shimmer shades at least 4 times. I think I could definitely exceed that for Holy Grail and Glow Baby, but let's just keep it simple and keep all of those at 4. And for all the matte shades, I'm gonna have my goal at 10 uses. I think that should get me to pan on Terracotta. I'm just gonna use it as much as possible. I might have to use it more than 10 times to hit that pan, but I think I should be able to do it if I just really put my mind to it. Moving on to side B, the remix side of this palette. Here's what side B was looking like when I first brought it into the project in January. I already at that point had pan on Dream Girl, Bestie, and Baby Girl. Here's what side B was looking like as of last month, and we just had that one shade at the bottom holding on, Lover, which did not yet have a pan on it. And here's what side B is looking like today. And I hope you can immediately see that I have hit my goal on this side of the palette. I have pan on all 9 of those shades, including that bottom shade Lover, which I just hit pan on this month. So very excited. I've been trying to hit pan on Lover basically since the beginning of this project. I kept meaning to focus on it. So it was just bit by bit, we finally got there. And I am just so jazzed to see 9 shiny pans on this side, which means that we do just have that one remaining shade on side A before I hit my overall goal of hitting pan on every single one of these shades. My goal for all of these shades on side B this month was to use each of them at least 3 times. So let's go ahead and start off with that first shade, Island Glow. Here's what Island Glow was looking like last month. This was after 42 uses in the project. I reached for it exactly 3 times, making for 45 uses total. And here's Island Glow today. And I doubt you'll see much of a difference in that one, just 3 uses. Again, it's a similar story to the other highlight shades on side A. I'm using such a small amount of product that we're not gonna see a huge jump in that size of the pan, but that's okay. It's getting used and it's a beautiful highlight shade. I do really enjoy using it. Let's move on to Need You. This one has gotten a ton of use, so I'm hoping to see a nice jump here. Here's what Need You was looking like last month. This was after 66 uses in the project. I used it 19 times, making for 85 uses total, and here's what Need You is looking like today. And you should be able to see a slight difference in the size of that pan. Maybe not the huge jump I would expect to see, but I have been using it a ton. I've been using this on my cheeks every single day as a contour shade. I go in with that first to kind of carve out my cheekbone and then blend it out with my bronzer, and it works perfectly for that. And I'm going to continue to use it that way until the end of the year and hopefully have a nice big pan on there before the year is up. Even though I haven't been making a ton of progress like around the circle of the size of that pan, I have noticed that the depth of the shadow has gone down quite a bit. So the area around that pan is quite thin and I should be able to make pretty rapid progress on it in the next couple of months if I continue to use it every single day as my contour. So happy with that one. It's a beautiful matte shade. I love a matte brown and this one is a great one. So let's go on to Dark Horse. Here's what Dark Horse was looking like last month. This was after 54 uses in the project. I reached for it 23 times in the past month, making for 77 uses total. And here's Dark Horse today. And I believe you should see a bigger size pan from those uses. I've been using this every single day in my brows. I go in with my brow gel. I then fill in any sparse areas with this brown shadow and it works perfectly for that. And I also use it to top my eyeliner as well in the exact same way that I use the black shade Silhouette. So I'll continue to use it in that way and I don't expect it to get huge by the end of the year, but it'll continue to expand and we'll just see how big it can get. And let's move on to the next row and talk about Dream Girl. So here's what Dream Girl was looking like last month. This is after 32 uses in the project. I was able to reach that 3 use goal, making for 35 uses total. And here's Dream Girl today. And I don't think you'll see much of a difference there. The 3 times I used it, I'm pretty sure I used it as a blush all 3 times or a blush topper. And since I'm using such a big fluffy brush, you're not seeing like a lot of change in the size of that pan. But again, I'm seeing a change in the depth of the shadow and I'm excited to just continue reaching for it. It's a beautiful blush topper / highlight. And that's how I really plan to use it for the remainder of this project. So we'll see what I can do with it that way. Next shade is Stalker. Here's what Stalker was looking like last month. This was after 34 uses in the project. I reached that 3 use goal on this shade as well, making for 37 uses total. And here's Stalker today. And I doubt you're going to see any difference at all in the size of that pan, but it got the uses that it needed. And that is enough of an accomplishment for me on that shade because I'm just over pinks. You know, I've worn so many pinks this year. So I just gonna meet that bare minimum usage goal. That's okay. Next shade in this row is Vampette. Here's what Vampette was looking like last month. This was after 31 uses in this project. Again, I reached that 3 use goal, making for 34 uses total, and here's Vampette today. And a very similar story to Stalker. You're not gonna see much of a difference in the size of that pan, but again, we're just happy to get the uses. So let's go on to that last row and talk about Bestie. Here's what Bestie was looking like last month. This was after 43 uses in the project. I reached for it 4 times in the past month, making for 47 uses total, and here's what Bestie is looking like today. And this has a similar story as well to Dream Girl, where I'm using it as a blush, so I don't think you'll see much of a difference in the size of that pan, maybe slightly. And that is also how I plan to continue to use it during the remainder of this year. It's a beautiful, cool-toned, pinky blush. And I'm not saying I won't ever use it on my eye for the rest of the year, but mostly I'm just gonna kind of take the easy route and use it as a blush when I want that more cool-toned pink blush look. Moving on to Lover, our exciting update for the month. Here's what Lover was looking like last month. This was after 33 uses in in the project. I reached for it 5 more times, making for 38 uses total, and here is Lover Today. So as you can see, we do have that nice little pan on there. It's not a big pan, but it is a pan. I actually hit pan on this shade after just 1 more use, so on my 34th use, and I used it 4 more times to get the size of the pan that we see today. And I'm just so happy I finally have a pan on this shade. It wasn't the easiest shade to pan, obviously. It's not the easiest shade to wear. I mean, it's quite a grungy purple, so it really adds a lot of darkness to a look. Even though it doesn't look that dark in the pan, it really does pull kind of grungy gray on the eye, which I like, but just not for every day. But I really do like it. I love a purple, and it pairs beautifully with Toasted on the other side of the palette, and I'm very happy to say that we have a pan on it today. So look at that, 9 out of 9, super excited. And that brings us to our last shade, Baby Girl. Here's what Baby Girl was looking like last month. This was after 29 uses in the project. Again, I met that 3-use goal, making for 32 uses total, and here's Baby Girl today. And similar story to the other pinks, Bestie and Dream Girl. I've been using this as a blush, so I don't think you're gonna see much difference in those 3 uses, but it's a beautiful hot pink blush when you want like a nice flush of pink on the cheeks, and that's another one I probably plan to continue using it that way for the remainder of the year. So happy to say that I met every single goal on this side of the palette, including hitting that new pan, and I've met my goal overall of having pan on every single one of these shades. And I look forward to just seeing what I can do as far as expanding these pans before the year is up, now that I have reached that goal, and kind of relax a little bit, which is nice. So with my goals, I'm just kind of going to take a little bit of a break. I'm not going to push myself too hard on this side of the palette. I'm going to keep it exactly the same. I'd like to use each of these shades at least 3 times. I know that I'm going to exceed that goal on several of these shades, including Need You, Dark Horse. But as far as the other ones, I'm not going to stress too much about it. If I use them more, great. If I don't, whatever. I have other projects that I'm focusing on, and now that I've hit those goals, I can just kind of like, take a back seat just a little bit. That's all for side B. Now, please enjoy the montage of all the months of footage on this side of the palette from the beginning of the year up until today. And the last part of this video, I love to update you on the weight of this palette. Not only do I think it's so fun to see the visual progress from month to month, but I also love tracking the weight to get a numerical value for how much of this product I am using from month to month. So when I first brought this palette into the project in January, it was weighing 167.46 grams. As of last month, it was down to 162.44 grams. And today it is weighing 161.75 grams. So in the past month, I used 0.69 grams of product. And in total, I've used about 5.5 grams of product from this palette, which is great. And I'm really excited to see what I'm able to do with it before the year is up. I don't have a specific goal for how much of the product I want to use, so we'll just see what I'm able to do. Stick with me through the end of the year and you can find out right alongside with me. So that is all for my Pan That Palette update for the month of September. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a quick thumbs up before you leave. It really does help me out a lot. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you in my little community in this corner of YouTube. Signing off here, I got my last little boost of energy for the day, filming this video. Success. Go Jess, did it. I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are in the world that this video finds you. I hope you're doing well, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Bye.